All right, everybody, what is going on? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. I think we're going to take a little bit of a break from the rookie evaluation videos today and do a couple other things and get back to it tomorrow. We certainly have no shortage of time on our hands to take a look at those rookies, so let's go ahead and pace it a little bit. So if you're wondering about Andre Fuller, I'm probably going to go ahead and just make those videos tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that then. But this video, I want to talk about something else. This is kind of a follow-up to the Dante Fowler video that I made yesterday when we signed him. And obviously, I think I did a pretty good job covering the general overall ground of the Dante Fowler signing itself. But there's a little bit of stuff to consider now that he's signed. This video is sponsored by PrizePicks. And as you can see, I have this Dan Viennes Seahawks Forever tweet on screen here. And Dan Viennes was one of the early voices on the whole conversation of we're going to get Dante Fowler. He was talking about it weeks ago, and he was on it before anybody else that I know of. So this is something that is definitely worth listening to. According to him, his understanding is the Seahawks are continuing to monitor the veteran free agency market as well as trade possibilities, wishing to add one more wave to their pass rush. Now, he does say that it's unlikely to happen until later this summer. Remember, if you're acquiring a veteran free agent, those guys typically want to skip some, if not all, of training camp and even some of preseason, so you're not going to sign them early. They're going to want to keep their options open until it's actually time to start playing football. So I would not look at this and conclude the Seahawks are going to make a big move soon, or even a modest move soon. But the thing that stands out to me about this is the fact that this team is still looking to add a pass rusher. And while technically you don't have to be an edge rusher to be a pass rusher, I think in the context of this team, when this team is talking about adding one more wave to their pass rusher, they're clearly talking about another edge rusher. And we've definitely had conversations about guys that the Seahawks could get, and free agency is something that we've pounded on this channel before. The trade possibility one is interesting, and I have talked about that before as well. There are a couple guys out there. There might be some guys available that we don't even know about because we're not privy to everything that happens on the trade block in the NFL. But it's definitely interesting that the Seahawks are supposedly interested in adding another player looking at their depth chart, and I like it a lot. So if you go to the current depth chart as I see it right now, and this is just the spreadsheet that I put together, we go four deep. We have DeMarcus Lawrence, who by all accounts is coming back. Derek Hall, contract year. Uchenna Nwosu, still on the team, and now Dante Fowler. The fifth edge, as of right now, it depends on your perspective. Is it Mike Morris? Is it Leonard Williams? If you look at those guys as edges, or at the very least, we know that Morris can play edge, Williams can play edge, but I always look at those guys as being interior linemen. If you don't look at those guys as edges, maybe Riley Mills, maybe, because I think the Seahawks website did move him to defensive end, but that doesn't mean he's going to be playing edge in actual games. And I still kind of feel like with the information we have right now, he's probably more of a tackle. So if you remove those guys from consideration, the next guy up is Jared Ivey, or Connor O'Toole, I guess, who hasn't really done that much. If you like sports, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using the PrizePicks app, where it always feels good to be right. PrizePicks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, and obviously we are now firmly into the NFL offseason, so we're all about baseball. We got some basketball, we got some hockey, whatever it is you like. PrizePicks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. Definitely make sure to use the promo code HMA. PrizePicks is hooking up users with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. If you use that promo code, that is HMA. I've had a great time on PrizePicks so far, so definitely get on over to it, check it out, and make sure to get your lineups. And don't forget about Team Picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So Download the app now, use HMA, and get on over to Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. So you take a look at this edge room right now with this top four, because realistically, most teams carry four edge rushers, and I don't think any of these guys, O'Toole, Ivy, or Sheriff, demand a roster spot. I do think this edge rusher room is probably about as good, maybe a little bit better than last year's, but it's still not anything that you feel amazing about. If there's one thing on this defense that you might be a little bit concerned about going into the season, it's probably this right here, right? D-Law is a year older, and I know he was great last year, but that invites problems, right? If he slips, it hurts the team a lot. And it would make sense for Lawrence to slip because of age. And Nwosu's not old, but his injury situation does invite some concern, I think. Even if he stays healthy, what if last year's early season explosion from him, because if you remember, most of his pass rush production came in those early weeks, like the first month and a half of his season, and his entire career from now on is just going to be what we saw for the last couple months of the year, and then the playoffs where he was fine, but he wasn't really doing a lot as a pass rusher. That is not really all that exciting, and that would represent a downgrade from 2025's Uchenna Nwosu. Now, I think it's reasonable to expect that Derek Hall's going to step forward because he's young and he's going to improve, and it's a contract year. So I think you can count on a little bit more from Derek Hall. And I do think Dante Fowler could be better than Boye Mafe was for us last year, because Mafe didn't do a ton. But the thing is, Dante Fowler's also getting up there in age, and he could slip from where he was the last couple of years, and we definitely couldn't be surprised about that. And beyond the fact that this edge rusher room is not great, it's also old for the most part, right? Nwosu's not super old in terms of the number on the piece of paper that signifies how many years he's been on this earth, but the injuries that he's battled through have kind of exacerbated his actual meaningful, like, on-field age as far as we're concerned. So this is an edge rusher room that should be good, but I don't know if you want to hang them out to dry with massive snap counts. So the idea of adding a fifth edge rusher to this group, like a fifth dedicated edge, is actually pretty interesting, because I don't think we're going to be doing this and then we're going to be releasing Nwosu or something like that to make room for the new edge rusher. If we are going to add one more wave to the pass rush, I do think the word add is the important word there, where it's going to be on top of what we already have. I think that you would add a player and then you'd get rid of a Mike Morris, maybe. Maybe you'd only carry four cornerbacks. Maybe there would be some kind of a sacrifice at wide receiver where you only carry five wide receivers. I don't think you would get rid of Nwosu to make room for another edge. So it's definitely interesting. And I think going five deep at edge makes a good deal of sense. It's the kind of thing that I talk about a lot on this channel, having a deep rotation at the edge rusher room to offset the fact that you don't have any certified superstar edges. You don't have Myles Garrett. You have four guys that are pretty good, but are not at that level of play. You add a fifth good guy, a fifth guy that can take snaps, like more than a Jared Ivey or a Connor O'Toole. Now you're talking about a really deep room that should never get tired, even in games where they play a lot of snaps. Now, the free agents that are still available, we've been over this many, many times on this channel. If you watch my channel regularly, you probably already know, but Joey Bosa is still out there. Leonard Floyd remains a candidate. Cam Jordan is very interesting to me because he's a bigger player, the kind of player that McDonald likes, and he was really good last year, very productive. AJ Epinenza, Von Miller, we know he was almost a Seahawk last year and seems to regret not being one. Jadeveon Clowney, of course, remains always a very intriguing option. Even somebody like a Hassan Reddick has a certain degree of appeal and should be of note as we move through this offseason. Kyle Vinoy is actually kind of fun because that's the kind of player that I think McDonald would appreciate. And you could talk about a few other guys here as well, like Marcus Davenport. Now, at a certain point, you're going to get to a level of player that is not radically different from Jared Ivey. So there's not much of a point. But you can see there are guys here that are good, guys here that are better than some of the things that we had to play last year. Like, would you rather have Jadeveon Clowney at 33 years old or what you got out of Boye Mafe last year? I think the answer is pretty clearly Clowney. And Clowney was great last year, by the way. So was Von Miller. On a bad team, he still produced. So there are options out there. Now, if you want to trade for somebody, but you're not swinging for the fences like the Max Crosby type, I think you're talking more about like one of the Steelers guys like Herbig or Highsmith. Could be one or two other guys of that level, the guys who are good, but not necessarily stars. But I don't know about the fit there because Highsmith and Herbig are both smaller edge rushers. They're more pure speed rushers off the edge. So I'm not enamored with that. But those are options. And if McDonald feels like he can work with them, then he probably can because he should know better than anyone else what he wants. All right, so definitely interesting stuff here. I would love to go 5 deep at edge. I would love to stack up 5 different edge rushers and just be able to give each guy on this team like 30 snaps a game most of the time, 35 at most. And for part of the season, you could probably get some of these guys down to 20. So you guarantee that guys like D-Law and Fowler have something left at the end of the year. All right, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Gonna make at least one more video later today. Again, probably taking a break from the rookie evals until tomorrow. But stay tuned for that. And yeah, go Hawks.